One thing that I put sort of at the end was just addressing expansion. It feels like that's just been a conversation that's been had for literally every year off season since the CDL came into existence, and we've had 12 teams. I mean, there were even rumors over at least two of these years that we potentially would have less than 12 teams, not more. Um, so I think it would just be great if we really just like if something can. I feel like Daniel Say maybe on like I think it was like that Raleigh Major one, whether that was 2 years ago now or whatever it was. Like Zuma had him Daniel Say on the flank, and he actually like he talked about it, not to the extent of like giving substantial information, but it was at least addressed. Um, just have like we got the update last year about the future of the league. They talked about like paying back some of the funds for entry fees or whatever it was for some of these teams and stuff. Like, maybe that's the answer. And again, tying it in with like the challengers here, and just talking about too like how now with Miami and Vegas Falcons being like region based teams, um one way to open up more spots is to have more teams, and how that would happen or what it looks like, etc. We don't have the answers to that, but just having some sort of conversation about whether it will ever actually happen, or hey, maybe like Daniel Say has to come out and just be like, once and for all, no, the CDL is never expanding beyond 12 teams. And I don't think that would happen either, because I just don't see him saying that. um but just have again, this is kind of full circle now. All of these wish list things are kind of connected in uh some fashion. So talking about expansion ties into just getting more communication in general, and that's what we started at with this wish list like an hour ago. So um I think that's the one that's probably the biggest pipe dream out of all of these, really. I mean, it feels like that could be one way to address the importance of challengers and some of these other players. Is, hey, if we've heard, especially as most recent as this offseason, like other organizations like Liquid, Fnatic, Space Station Gaming, like there are organizations, even like Rise Nation. I don't know how recently that was, but like there are esports organizations and companies out there who are still interested in investing in Call of Duty esports. Like having an organization like Cloud9, as recently as this past offseason, fully entering COD esports, that kind of like that should be, I don't want to say like I guess it's just sort of like a beacon of light, sort of, that's
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
it's not all doom and gloom if an organization like Cloud9 is willing to step in at this point where, like, financials and stuff in esports are being questioned, and whatever the case may be there. So um yeah, it might be all full circle there, really, and tie into just getting more communication. But um, I guess that's really my final wish list item for 2025, is to get some information on expansion or the possibility of it ever happening, or just maybe we do get that, you know, doomsday scenario where we get some communication that says, yeah, expansion isn't happening, but at least we would get it addressed to some extent. So something on expansion is something I would love to see in 2025.
Yeah, we just need some kind of what is the CDL looking for? Like, what are kind of like the requirements for when the CDL might make this change? Why, like, what teams, or they don't have to say like the specific teams, but like what kinds of organizations are you looking for when you expand? Like, what are some of the requirements that those organizations might have to meet? I still think like it's good to be selective and say, hey, we're not just going to accept any team, any organization into our league, because part of the reason for the CDL, or I guess like the state part of the state admission, was like to kind of root out some of the denial esports of the world, like make sure
Yes.
that
Yeah.
Red Reserve can't come back into the league and just completely defraud these players and take advantage of them. So like there's something to be said for that. I don't know how well it's worked because we've had so many like LAG situations, and like the Boston breach is like up in the air, like what's actually going to happen with that. But I do agree with you, like it was a very encouraging sign to see Cloud9 and then also G2 Esports, who bought
Yeah.
the Minnesota Rocker. Like these were two major esports organizations buying into the idea, at least in theory, of Call of Duty esports at a time where everybody seemed to be like running away from it. And I think that's great. I want to see more endemic esports organizations. Like I am like an esports elitist in a way. Like I don't really, now that we've gone through the esport, or we're in the esports winter, I really don't care about these like non-endemic brands that are coming in, like the like Robert Crafts of the world. Like I just don't really give a damn if they're a part of Call of Duty esports, because esports can survive and thrive with Cloud9 Jack. We could, Liquid Steve, whoever the Fnatic CEO is. Like we can have these actual endemic esports brands and succeed. And like I think it would, I think people are more attached to Fnatic, for example, than they are to the Boston Breach or Oxygen Esports, because that wasn't a thing like 5 years ago. Like it was just a thing that they popped up like when they started the Overwatch League. So, I would love to see expansion. They have to be selective, they have to be smart about it, but there are definitely some organizations and teams that would definitely be good candidates for expansion at this point.
And to be fair, there are definite like questions around the logistics of expansion to begin with, because I mean we got that post that I was talking about, the future of the Call of Duty League last year, where it says uh straight up, outstanding entry fees will be eliminated and any fees previously collected from teams will be returned in full. That raises the question then, like what are, if you know dating all the way back to the beginning, like OGLA slash Immortals sells to LAT, but OGLA had to pay to enter the league, and then LAT had to pay them a lot of money. So is LAT getting paid, refunded what they paid
Yeah.
for that? And then even like C9 as recently as this year, like are they being refunded whatever they had to pay New York, because New York paid to get into the league? And then with expansion, like if the CDL comes out and says, yeah, we're opening up 4 more spots, like how does that even work? Because it's not like there's going to be a bidding war over the spots if you don't have to pay. And or is this saying like expansion teams do have to pay entry fees, but then the other pre-existing teams don't? Like there's still a lot of questions around how logistically expansion would work if it ever happened. But I do think uh full circle, that would be one way to get more of these challengers players into the pro league. It would get, you know, I still think 16 teams at a minimum is just a great number for like a bracket play
Yeah.
system. It
That's
would
what we're
even
used
open
to.
up it would open up the return to 4 pools for potential pool play and those MLG-esque tournament formats from back in the day. Um, and it all ties into just, again, more communication, more transparency, and all that good stuff that we've been yapping about now for a while.